Hello internet, and I thought it would be a really fun time to do another book tag, so I decided to do Thoughts on Tomes book tag, the Grinch book tag, because I've never done it before and it seemed like a lot of fun. So let's see if I can do this without repeating the same books for every question. So question number 1 is, half of the lights on the Christmas tree are out. Name a book that started good and then went downhill. We're gonna go with Tender Morsels. This book started off good. Like, it was a very, very dark story, but it started off good and then slowly went downhill into this horrible, horrible piece of trash where it tried to tell me that I should live in a rapey world and just be happy with it. And I should not want to, like, escape and live outside of that. Also, that you must live in a horrible, very, very cruel world. However, if you as a woman learn the realities of the cruel world, if you are affected by the realities of the cruel world, if you are raped by the cruel world, then you don't get your happily ever after. The only people who deserve happily ever after are the Snow White, ignorant people who get to live in the real world without ever knowing what the real world really means. So, no. I'm gonna calm down, but this is one of the books that I hate so much because the whole message of this book is one that no one should ever take to heart. And I hate the fact that the message of this book was published and thought of as okay and never established as, hey, here is some bad stuff that goes on, but we shouldn't be like this. Like, this is justifying a horrible, horrible message. And yeah, it's the worst book in the world. Number 2, annoying relatives that won't leave you alone. Name a book that you didn't enjoy but everyone else seems to love and it will not stop haunting you. And I'm just gonna say every Cassandra Clare book ever. Now, I've mentioned it before that I don't like the Mortal Instruments, and I actually make a couple people angry. Like, I have a few friends who, like, whenever they try to praise Mortal Instruments and I start, like, being like, don't do that around me, they're like, Janelle, leave me alone. Let me love the things I love. And I have read most of the Mortal Instruments. I just didn't read, like, the last book. And then Infernal Devices, I read those. So, like, I've read Cassandra Clare's books, but as a grown reader, and even the reader I was at the time I started reading those books when they were first being published, I just can't understand the love for those books because it just... the characters are dumb. I'm sorry. They're so stupid. Like, they are the dumbest one-note characters, except Simon. Simon was a pretty cool dude. I liked him, and I wish the books had just focused on him. But everyone else outside of Simon were pretty horrible characters. Like, not in the sense that they were bad people. Like, they were just, like, idiots, and I couldn't stand it. So, yeah, no, I wish those books would just leave me alone. But then the 10th anniversary edition of that book came out, and then I was so angry because the 10th anniversary edition looks so beautiful, and I love collecting beautiful, beautiful books, but I can't buy that one because I hate the story, and I can't justify buying a book just because it looks pretty when I know for a fact that I hate every one of its contents. So, yeah. Question number 3. Your pet keeps knocking over your Christmas decorations. Name a character that kept messing everything up for everyone else. So, in this book, The Girl from Everywhere by Heidi Higgeline, I don't know. Like, I usually don't. Either way, there is this character named Blake Hart, and he is such an irritating character. So if you guys have ever watched the CWDC TV shows, there's one called Legends of Tomorrow, right? And there's that Adam dude who, like, shrinks down by use of his, like, little robot suit. So him and Blake Hart of this book are both the same type of character. A character that I hate. the Boy Scout. And I mean the Boy Scout who's just so perfectly honorable all the time that he gets in your way when you need to do things. Like they're like, oh no, you can't do this. We have to be honorable. And I'm like, let me steal the thing so we don't get all these people murdered instead. How about that? Why don't we do a little dishonorable things and then we'll end up better? And throughout this book, he just keeps interfering. Like, this girl's on a mission. She needs to get this map. And the only option that they are being given outside of doing some even worse trickery is like something really, really bad that will crumble a whole nation. And he keeps getting in the way the whole entire time. Like, there are a few points in this book where the whole mission could have been done and been a success, but Blake gets in the way and ruins it. So I wasn't happy with Blake. Ever. Not once. I didn't like him. Question number 4. You hear your parents putting presents out and learn that Father Christmas isn't real. Name a book that you were spoiled for. Now, I can't name a particular book that I was like fully spoiled for that I really cared about, because I don't mind spoilers so much as other people. If it's a book that I truly want to learn for myself, I will just avoid you, and I'm good at dodging spoilers. But there was one trilogy like that I remember really impacted how I read it, and that was the Grisha trilogy and even Six of Crows. Because of like how Leigh Bardugo ends her stories, not many people come out of the end of a series very happy. So before I had bought the books and when I was first getting into BookTube, I kept hearing all these comments where no one was willing to like fully spoil anything, right? But they were always talking about the ending wasn't that good, the ending wasn't that good, the ending was like, where did it come from? So when I read it and then I got to ending, like I just kept anticipating. I was like, something's gonna happen and you're gonna be like, why did you do that? And sure enough, it did. Now, outside of that, I still don't like the endings to her books, but their thoughts and that like spoiler feeling definitely contributed into that, because I didn't go into the book blind and I knew I wasn't gonna get an ending that anybody was satisfied with. Question number 5 is, it's freezing outside. Name a character that you couldn't warm up to. For that, I'm gonna go with this book here, Reckless by Cornelia Funke, and it has this hideous cover, but I kept it because I thought the story would be interesting, and it is about these siblings called the Reckless siblings. I can't remember, it's an older brother and a younger brother, and this older brother has for years disappeared through this mirror into this mirror world where there's like fairies and all this magic and goblins and like rock monster things, and he's been trapezing around it. His brother follows him through, and they end up in this whole race to save his brother because his brother comes down with like a transformational sickness. It's like turning into a vampire, except he's slowly being corrupted and turning into like this rock creature, this jade creature. And I just couldn't warm up to any of the human characters in this book, and I don't think Fox counts as one, but like none of the human characters, and especially not the main Reckless brother, I couldn't, like, I didn't like them. Like, I could understand them, like they were jerks, but I could understand where they were coming from. But at the end of the day, I didn't like them, okay? I didn't. There's just some people I don't like, and I don't feel like I really need to explain why, other than the fact that I just don't like them. Question number 6. Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You is being played a lot on the radio, giving you anti-romantic feelings. Name a couple that you just couldn't stand. So I actually have a video about this. This is a part of Lunar Chronicles. It's by Marissa Myers. It's the first book in the Wires and Nerves graphic novel series. And they try to set up this girl, Aiko. She is an android, and she was along with all the others in the Lunar Chronicles, and she finally gets her own story told. They try to set her up with this dude who doesn't believe she is a person who holds being over her own body. Like, she is not an entity with her own autonomy. She is a machine and nothing more. The fact that she was built, the fact that she was created in a lab means that she has no real feelings, that she can't love or care or want to protect. And that frustrated me. Yeah, this book just... it was a horrible relationship. I'm going to end it on that. If you want to hear more of my opinions, go find my thoughts on this book in particular. But no, that's all I'm going to say. Question number 7. The scratchy homemade jumper that you got for Christmas years ago but never wore. A book that has been on your shelf but you haven't had the heart to get rid of. You haven't read it, but you just can't get rid of it either. For that, I'm going to go with The Marauders by Tom Cooper. And I bought this one on a whim because I like buying books. And it's like this mystery of finding treasure, and it says that it's some sort of like Don Quixote type story. And I grew up hearing about Don Quixote and his tales, so I bought it because of that. But I don't really want to read this book, but I don't want to get rid of it either because I might like it. Plus, it's yellow, and I have this shelf down here that's like yellows and greens. And if I get rid of this book, then I'm going to have an empty space in that shelf, and it's not going to look as good. So I'm keeping it. Question number 8. Grandma has gotten run over by a reindeer. Name a character death that still affects you and that you are still angry about. And this is going to be a spoiler, so probably like click a few minutes away from this and try to find question number 9 if you really care, but it's a Harry Potter spoiler, so I don't know if Harry Potter really counts as a thing that one can't be spoiled for anymore. Point is, 7th book, Harry Potter. There's a lot of deaths that happen, but the only ones that really bothers me is Fred. Just know. I don't think I have to explain why, but only death I still mourn. Only death that aches me in my heart when I think about, because George is all alone, and that's not right. Question number 9. Shops that are overcrowded with shoppers for the holidays. Name a series that has too many books or that went on too long. And once again, I'm going to say The Mortal Entrance by Cassandra Clare. It was just too long, okay? It was way, way too long. And yes, I admit it, I didn't finish the whole entire thing. But you want to know why? Because it was too freaking long. That's why when the books first came out, I really loved reading, and I only could have library books. So of course it was something I read. I read it, even though I had frustrations with it at the time. Read every single one that I could find, and then the story slowly started to devolve into some weird thing that started not making any sense anymore, and like weird character traits and like weird little plot twists started trying to poke their heads in, and none of it fits together cohesively. If you try to tell me that that story makes perfect sense, that that woman knew exactly where she was going when she first put pen to paper, I swear you're lying to me, because I remember reading those and being like, oh, okay with the first book, and oh, okay with the second book, and slowly when we got to the 3rd book, I was like, but where are you going with this? And then the 4th book, I was like, what? And it went too long, and I don't think it had like a clear path of what the end game for that series ever was. And I still don't know what the end game finally was. I just know when they started doing that weird thing with Jace and his like family history and the other guy, no spoilers for those of you who still want to read the series. I'm nice enough not to do that. I remember shutting that book, I think it was the 2nd to last book, and being like, I am this many books in, and the stories still don't make sense to me, what? And then I was done. And then every time I see that series on someone else's shelves, and I see like the whole big line of how it almost takes up a whole shelf just with the Mortal Instruments alone, I'm like, Question number 10. The Grinch. Name a main character that you absolutely hate It's not a villain. It's actually for these questions and for these types of tags, I keep books that I don't like, because I try to blank out every book that I don't like and put it in like the recesses of my memory. But having that book shelf reminder lets me answer these questions as honestly as possible. And we're going with Vasa from Vasa in the Night by Sarah Porter. She was the dumbest broad I've ever met. And she whined and she complained and she could never figure anything out, and the story had no like clear directive. It was super confusing, and Vasa just kept whining. And did I mention she whined? And oh, did I mention she whined? Yeah, she did a lot of that. And no, and she also started blaming other people for like her life problems, and like some of them were valid, but most of them I was like, girl, you're just as responsible for your life and you're gonna start letting it go. And she started blaming other people because she didn't want to put her brain to work and started trying to figure out her own situation for herself. And she kept getting mad and irritated and whining to other people of like, why aren't you figuring this out? Why aren't you figuring out a way for me to get out of this situation? And I was like, you got a brain? Use it. So I hated her. I hated her so much. So she sits on my shelves so that I can remember my hate for her every day. That was my Grinch tag. I really just like talking about books that I don't like. It brings back fond memories, or just books that I can be grumpy about in general. So comment down below if you're not too offended by the opinions that I have stated, because these were my opinions that I'm in full right to have. So therefore, I'm not quite sure why you would get offended that I don't like the thing that you may like. But either way, these are things that I may or may not like. So comment down below with those things that you don't like, and those books that you didn't like, and those books that bother you, because I just want to see what everyone else hates too. And if you like what you're seeing here and you want to continue to see more, click all those buttons down below, and goodbye, internet.